welcome to my channel Everything is Divine. Today we are doing lesson number 72. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. While we have recognized that the ego's plan for salvation is the opposite of God's, yet we have not yet emphasized that it is an active assault on his plan and a deliberate attempt to destroy it. In the attack, God is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with the ego, while the ego appears to take on the attributes of God. The ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of this wish. For it is this wish which seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone and unable to reach other minds except through the body which was made to imprison it. This, however, cannot be true communication. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication, yet the ego would have you believe that it is. Although the attempt to keep the limitations which a body would impose is obvious here, it is perhaps not so apparent why holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. But let us consider the kinds of things which you are apt to hold grievances for. Are they not always associated with something a body does? A person says something we do not like. He does something that displeases us. He betrays his hostile thoughts in his behavior. We are not dealing here with what the person is. On the contrary, we are exclusively concerned with what he does in a body. We are doing more than failing to help in freeing him from its limitations. We are actively trying to hold him to it by confusing it with him and judging them as one. Herein is God attacked, for if his son is only a body, so must he be as well. A creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. If God is a body, what must his plan for salvation be? What could it be but death? In trying to present himself as the author of life and not of death, he is a liar and a deceiver, full of false promises and offering illusions in place of truth. The body's apparent reality makes this view of God quite convincing. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion, and every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real. It overlooks entirely what your brother is. It reinforces your belief that he's a body and condemns him for it, and it asserts that his salvation must be projecting this attack onto God and holding him responsible for it. To this carefully prepared arena where angry animals seek for prey and mercy enters not, the ego comes to save you. God made your body very well. Let us accept this and be glad. As a body, do not let yourself be deprived of what the body can give you. Take the little you can get. God gave you nothing. The body is your only savior. It is the death of God and your salvation. This is a universal belief of the world, you see. Some hate the body and try to harm and humiliate it. Others love the body and try to glorify and exalt it. But when it stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against him and his creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it. It is a friend. Your chosen savior takes his place instead. It is your friend, he's your enemy. So the ego is your friend and God is your enemy. We will try today to stop these senseless attacks on salvation. We will try to welcome it instead. Our upside down perception has been ruinous to our peace of mind. We have seen ourselves in a body and the truth outside us, locked away from our awareness by the body's limitations. Now we are going to try to see this differently. The light of truth is in us where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside us and is not our concern. To be without a body is to be in our natural state. To recognize the light of truth in us is to recognize ourselves as we are. To see ourselves as separate from the bodies, to end the attack on God's plan for salvation and accept it instead. And wherever it is accepted, it is accomplished already. Our goal in the longer practice periods today is to become aware that God's plan for salvation has already been accomplished in us. To achieve this goal, we must replace attack with acceptance. As long as we attack it, we cannot understand what God's plan for us is. We are therefore attacking what we do not recognize. Now we are going to try to lay judgment aside and ask what God's plan for us is. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Then we will wait in quiet for his answer. We have attacked God's plan for salvation without waiting to hear what it is. We have shouted our grievances so loudly that we have not listened to his voice. We have used our grievances to close our eyes and stop our ears. Now we would see and hear and learn. What is salvation, Father? Ask and you will be answered. Seek and you will find. You are no longer asking the ego what salvation is and where to find it. You are asking it of truth. Be certain then that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. Whenever you feel your confidence wane and your hope of success flicker and go out, repeat your question and your request, remembering that you are asking them of the infinite creator of infinity who created you like himself. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. He will answer, be determined to hear. One or perhaps two shorter practice periods an hour will be enough for today, since they will be somewhat longer than usual. These exercises are as follows. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation, Father? Then wait a minute or two or so in silence, preferably with your eyes closed, and listen for his answer. So let me read the footnotes and then we will go over the lesson a little bit, talk about the lesson. Why does seeing God as a body mean that his plan for salvation must be death? The next paragraph shows that this comes from projecting onto God your view of the interpersonal dynamics of human bodies. It says that you sentence your brothers to death for their bodies not behaving the way you want, and then you project this attack onto God, holding him responsible for it. In other words, seeing yourself as a body, you demand that other bodies sacrifice for the sake of your needs and then punish them when they don't. Then you project this entire view onto God, so now he appears to be a larger body who demands that other bodies sacrifice to meet his demands and then punishes them when they don't. Ay, ay, ay. This punishment, including the ultimate punishment of death, pays their debt to him. It is thus the way to reconcile with him, the way to find salvation. Seeing God as a body then inevitably leads to seeing his plan for salvation as being death. This means we must replace attack on God's plan with acceptance of his plan. Matthew says, ask and it will be given you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open to you. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. So the body's purpose is actually, it's a device to communicate to and from God. So my body, I use it as a communication device. Let things just flow through me. So as I was reading this lesson, the first time that I read it, I wasn't this aware of a lot of things. But my grievances were so much that my first thing that I wanted to do was actually see how I can come out of those grievances. So, but as and how much I'm practicing this course, I've come to the realization the body's purpose is that. So that's why you see when it says that some of us condemn our body, we feed it, we feed unwanted things to it, and then we create diseases, and then we make ourselves sick. Like there is a voice within you that says, this is not good for you. But nonetheless, you say, it's just a one time thing. When you don't pay attention to your mind, you are going to do things which will lead you to some kind of addictions. It's not just food or drugs or everything that we seek souls outside of ourselves will lead to some kind of an addiction, and we won't even know it because you're not paying attention to your mind. So and there is nothing wrong with any of these things, like watching TV, whiling away our time, because or eating, finding comfort foods. Nothing wrong with any of those things. What I am bringing us to is with the course, through this course, and the course is here for all of us to have direct experiences. Pay attention to your mind, see what's happening to the cause, and clear that. That way, the thing that you're going to do next will be, you have cleared that cause, you're in alignment, and through that you're going to do that. So now there is a better taste to that experience, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So yeah, the body's goal, some of us condemn it, some of us will glorify it. Many ways you can think of many examples. So all these are again what it is, a body. So where he says, where I like this, where he say that God has given you this body. God has given you this body so that he can communicate to you through that, and then you communicate with others through this body also, because this is where our senses are. So that is what I'm using it for, as a communication device to and through me. um, I hope that I could make that as clear as possible for you. Please keep practicing. These are just ideas. If you don't love one, knock it down, do something else that makes sense to you. But keep practicing. This is your transformation. Have a direct experience. I love you. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I will see you soon. Namaste.